All right, John.
Yep.
John, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And tell me about your childhood. You had both your parents when you were a kid?
Uh, I had both my parents until the age of 6. Then my father passed away.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he took his own life. But yeah, I had my mom growing up. Then she came into a stepfather, or then I came into a stepfather, and then I have my brother and sister from my stepfather and my mother, and then I have another sister from my father's side.
And how would you describe your childhood?
Uh, Pretty good. A lot of depression and stuff. I used to go in and out of counseling and stuff. So just because my father's passing away.
What do you think was the cause of your father's suicide?
I think depression.
Yeah.
He was gonna break up with his wife at the time, so I think that had a lot to do with it.
Break up with your mom?
My stepmother.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have suicidal tendencies, you think?
Uh, no, that's something that I kind of grew up against hating. I kind of a hate towards you know, killing yourself and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I always had compassion for ones that felt like they needed to do that stuff to themselves or anything. So
Yeah, I think it's more than just. I think brain chemistry comes into it, and
yeah,
it's almost out of
it's
person's
like
control.
our quality of life. Something kind of tells us that we don't want to be alone. You know, we kind of once we have friends in our life and you know could talk about other things. We don't think about that simultaneously or anything. So
Yeah. Do you have friends?
some friends and not really.
Yeah, living on the street, you have
Yeah.
acquaintances, I've learned.
Yeah, and that's basically it. It's just acquaintances. Like the guy that I've ran into recently, he's a pretty cool guy. You know, it's everybody's kind of out there for their money and stuff like that, so which is understandable being on the street. But what I don't understand is how people they're on the street, they're making all this money hustling and stuff, and they stay on the street. I never quite understood that. No.
You've been in LA how long?
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
And you were homeless in Vegas too?
Yeah, I was homeless for about 2 years in Vegas. So, yeah, maybe a little longer, but
And where are you staying now? On Skid Row.
I'm staying in a tent with my friend. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think of Skid Row?
Uh, I think the streets seem dirty. Like it seems like it seems like the trash cans and stuff. They just overfilled and stuff. Sometimes I never quite know what that's about. I don't know how often the city comes and does their thing, but in all fairness, I haven't been paying attention like that. I've been up in Echo Park and
Oh, you get around.
yeah, trying to get around. So,
Mm-hmm.
but at first it kind of seemed dirty. A lot of food and trash on the grounds and stuff, and I don't see a lot of birds. So, so
Back to your childhood. What kind of kid were you in high school?
uh, in high school, I liked schoolwork, but I didn't like homework. Homework was something that I never completed, but I loved to stay busy in school. I love that type of stuff.
You graduated high school?
No, I never graduated. I dropped out. I started using drugs and selling drugs at a young age, so I ended up dropping out.
How far did you go?
10th grade.
10th grade.
Yeah.
And what drugs were you playing around with?
It's like OxyContin, stuff like that just started coming out pretty
Mhm.
big back then. So, yeah, I remember when I first started selling or whatever, OxyContins were like $5 a piece. Nowadays, if you were to find one, they'd be 100 plus. So,
Wow. And you've been using ever since?
I had a couple years sobriety in between. I found out that was like the best times of my life is you know being sober and having a direction to go in and you know kind of having my productive proactive type of self.
You were happiest when you were clean?
Yeah, yeah, for
And what
sure.
got you to relapse?
My personality, it's just one of those personalities to say if it's there and you're trying to do it, not that I'm seeking to do it, but if you offer, then I won't turn it down. I'm kind of one of those types.
Yeah, and the self-control is,
Yeah, and then once it's there, it's like, oh, well, that's fun,
yeah.
you know, because I never quite have the building bridge or the steps out of that path. You know, I have the doing drugs down, but I don't have the to go get it to go to the next store and or whatever, you know, the next opportunity and you know line up my. I need to fill up my whole day, you know, with productive type stuff. So
And what is your drug today?
it's heroin now because pills and stuff we can't really find anymore. But I wish there was pills on the streets again because it's a little more consistent. You know, it seems a little more healthier for people that do the drug. You know, other than finding other types of drugs and
The heroin is cut sometimes.
yeah, they cut it sometimes. I've had heroin that kind of tastes like a battery, you know, recently, and it's just I like consistency. I'd just rather have that type of thing to. If I were stuck using something, that's what I would rather be stuck with. Is something that's the FDA approves and knows more about, and there's probably more ways to help people, you know, through the system with stuff like that as well. So.
Have you encountered fentanyl?
Yeah, I haven't encountered fentanyl. It's just another one of those highs. It's an immediate high if you smoke it, but it's really a fine. There's like a shear line. I call it a shear line drug. There's a shear to it that it's quite nasty. I'm not sure how to explain it, but it's not that great of a drug.
Have you OD'd?
But it is a decent drug if you were like I've had fentanyl suckers and stuff. I've done it the proper way, but I've never OD'd, no. But I hear that it's a pretty strong drug to OD on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people die from it.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
And how do you support yourself now?
It's been panhandling and things like that until I can find work. I really want to work. I don't have my ID. So, yeah.
What is spending your day panhandling do to your self-esteem?
It's something that I started building the okay with. You know, I started doing it every day, so I became okay with being a panhandler or something. It was just something that changes your life title. It's really different than going out and working every day and talking to people and coming back. You just say the repetitious things. Able to spare any change, sir? Or
What kind of reactions do you get from people?
There's a lot of no's or head shaking, but there's a lot of cool people out there that, you know, they're willing to give you $1 or $2, so that's pretty cool.
How much will you collect in a day?
Probably like $20 or $40 if I were sitting out there doing it. But I'm more the type of person, I was just trying to, you know, go score a sack or something like that. So it's just like $10, and then I try to leave. I kind of don't like to panhandle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how old are you, John?
33.
33. Do you have kids?
I have one daughter.
And where is she?
In Las Vegas with her mother. Yeah.
Do you stay in contact with her?
No, I haven't. I need to though.
And so, looking back at your life, I mean, you've been living on the streets for a long time, and you've been using drugs for even longer. What regrets do you have? What have you learned?
Well, I could tell it's probably getting to my physical health a little bit. You know, sometimes you get worried. You're like, well, if I start exercising and start sweating it out, but sometimes you just think that it might be a little too deeper than that. So it's probably a good time to start taking care of myself. Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And finding like I don't know, like a softball league or something to get a part of, or just something to stay active.
What emotions do you deal with?
I deal with anger. I don't really deal with violence. I don't really have much violence in me. Sadness, depression, absolutely.
It's hard not to get depressed living this life, right?
Yeah. And then a lot of it recently is just noticing how my body might be changing and stuff, like, you know, just taking the wear and tear. So I just think a lot about stuff like that. Or I notice more than I think about it, you know.
Yeah.
I just, so yeah.
And certainly you're intelligent enough to know that this is not a healthy, good lifestyle for you or your daughter.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what do you think people don't understand that don't do drugs? about addiction?
I think the main thing is you're just looking for a quality of life. You know, in doing drugs, you're looking for the quality of life that you have. You know, whether the drugs is a fun moment or something like that. I think once you find what gives you quality of life, you know, and the main thing is to stay busy throughout your whole day. You know, if you could stay busy throughout your whole day and enjoy what you're doing throughout the whole day, your quality of life ends up turning around. It starts having a better score. So then you don't, you know, repetitious practice of that will get you off of drugs, and you know, and then you just start noticing your life turning around and different opportunities falling in your lap and stuff like that.
When you got clean, which you say you've been clean before for a couple of years,
Yeah.
how did you do it?
Working out. I had a job and then working out. So, you know, when you have a job and you're working long hours,
The
and
routine
stuff,
keeps you clean.
yeah, because you're tired enough to go to sleep, and then you have something scheduled already when you wake up. So it becomes that cycle that ends up filling your days up. And then you get paid, and then you get to look at all the cool things, like paying rent's a cool thing to do, and you know, all those things become you becoming an adult and
Yeah, a
stuff
lot of
like
it, I
that.
think, is just growing up and taking on some responsibility
Yeah, definitely.
for paying the rent and bills and taxes and all that
Absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah, that's
Down here on Skid Row, you have no responsibility at all.
right. Absolutely.
I think a lot of people just get comfortable with that, and
Yeah.
they don't even want to leave.
Because we like to be who we are. We like to show who we are as a good, strong person, you know, reliable and stuff like that. So I think responsibility is a big thing like that. Definitely.
What's the most important lesson you've learned?
Stay hydrated. And I'm from Las Vegas, so it's kind of different. But if you do drugs or anything like that, stay hydrated for sure. Just keep your body as smart as it is already, you know, and it's able to flush and clean a lot of that stuff out of you. So that's probably the biggest lesson I learned.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, John. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
All right, thank you,
I
sir.
wish you the best of luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.